My name is Emily, and if you're listening to my story right now, I want you to understand one thing before I begin. Love can be the sweetest blessing, or it can be the deadliest weapon. I never thought my marriage would turn into a battlefield. I never thought the man I gave my everything to would one day treat my heart like a toy he could toss aside. But what he didn't know, what he never saw coming, was the secret I kept buried deep inside me. A secret that would one day bring him to his knees, begging for mercy. It all started 6 years ago. I met Ryan at a friend's wedding. He wasn't just handsome, he was charming, the kind of man who could make any woman feel like the center of the universe. He walked up to me with that easy smile, offered me his hand, and said, "Care to dance? You look like the only woman here who isn't already swept off her feet." I laughed, a little nervous, a little flattered. And before I knew it, I was in his arms, twirling under the fairy lights, feeling like the heroine of a romantic movie. From that night on, Ryan pursued me relentlessly. Flowers at my office, late night calls, long drives with the windows down and music blasting. He said all the right things. "You're my dream, Emily. I've never felt this way before. I can't imagine a future without you." And stupidly, I believed him. Within a year, we were married. My parents thought it was too soon, but I didn't care. I was blinded by love. Or maybe it was his charm. I told myself I had found my forever. The first 2 years of marriage were bliss. Or maybe I thought they were bliss. He spoiled me, took me on trips, made me feel like I was the most special woman alive. But slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice, the cracks began to show. Ryan started staying late at work. He became glued to his phone, smiling at messages I wasn't allowed to see. His once sweet words turned sharp, impatient. He criticized the way I dressed, the meals I cooked, even the way I laughed. And whenever I asked him what was wrong, he'd brush me off with that same cold line. "Emily, stop being so dramatic. You're imagining things." But I wasn't imagining them. I could feel it. Something was slipping between us. Something I couldn't name. One evening, I set the table for dinner, his favorite pasta, wine poured into the glasses. I wanted to bring back the spark, to remind him of us. But when he walked through the door, his tie loosened, phone in hand, he didn't even glance at me. "Ryan," I said softly, "I thought we could have a nice dinner tonight. Just the two of us." He sighed, irritated. "Emily, I'm exhausted. Can we not do this tonight?" "Do what?" I asked, my chest tightening. "This needy, clingy thing you've been doing lately. It's suffocating." Those words hit me like a slap. I swallowed the lump in my throat, blinked back the tears. I wanted to scream at him, to ask who he was texting late at night, why his shirt smelled like perfume that wasn't mine. But instead, I bit my tongue. Because here's the truth, while Ryan thought he was hiding his secrets from me, he didn't know I had my own. You see, long before Ryan and I got married, I had made a promise to myself. A promise that if anyone ever betrayed me, I wouldn't sit quietly and let my heart be shattered. I grew up watching my mother suffer. My father was a cheater, a liar who thought his money gave him the right to humiliate her. She stayed for years, until she had nothing left of herself. I swore I would never be that woman. I swore if a man ever played with me, I would make him regret it. So when Ryan began to change, when I started to see the lies behind his smiles, I didn't confront him directly. I waited. I watched. And I kept my secret plan close to my chest. A week later, I found my first piece of undeniable proof. He left his phone on the nightstand when he went to shower. Normally, he guarded that phone like it was a treasure chest. But that day, it buzzed with a notification. A woman's name flashed across the screen. Lena. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I knew I shouldn't look, but I did. The messages were there, plain as day. Flirty texts. Late night, I miss you messages. Promises to meet again. My heart sank, my stomach turned, but at the same time, I felt this cold, sharp clarity. So it was true. Ryan wasn't just distant. He wasn't just tired. He was cheating. When he came out of the shower, towel around his waist, he smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "What's for breakfast, babe?" he asked casually. I looked at him, forcing a smile of my own. "Pancakes," I said softly, "just the way you like them." And that was the moment I knew I wouldn't confront him. Not yet. Because if Ryan thought he was the only one playing games in this marriage, he was about to learn how wrong he was. That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to his steady breathing as he slept. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. I could expose him right then. I could throw the phone in his face, scream, demand answers. But what would that give me? Tears? Empty apologies? Another woman laughing at me behind my back? No, that wasn't enough. I wanted more than his guilt. I wanted his destruction. And as I lay there, the beginnings of my plan started to form. But here's the thing about plans. They take patience. And while he thought I was blind and naive, while he thought he was the one in control, he didn't realize I had already begun to set the trap. Ryan believed he was the player in this marriage. But he was about to learn. He had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because the secret I carried, the one he didn't even suspect, was going to turn his little game into a nightmare he'd never escape. And as I watched him sleeping peacefully beside me, I whispered to myself, "Enjoy this while you can, Ryan. Because soon, you'll be begging me for mercy." The morning after discovering Ryan's betrayal, I woke up with a strange calmness in my chest. It wasn't the calmness of peace. It was the calm before a storm. He kissed my forehead before leaving for work, the same way he always did, and whispered, "Love you, babe." I forced a smile. But inside, I wanted to laugh. Love? He had the audacity to say that after spending nights whispering sweet nothings to another woman? No, Ryan didn't love me. He loved the game. And he was about to learn what happens when you play the wrong opponent. That day, I decided to start documenting everything. Every late night text he sent. Every unexplained business trip. Every receipt left in his pockets that didn't match the story he told me. I created a hidden folder on my laptop, naming it something so boring he'd never click it. Household Budget 2019. Inside, I saved photos, screenshots, even recordings. Because when the day came, I wanted my proof to be undeniable. 2 weeks passed. Ryan grew bolder. He came home late, smelling faintly of floral perfume. Sometimes lipstick on his collar so faint I wondered if he thought I was blind. But instead of confronting him, I leaned into my role as the knave wife. I cooked his favorite meals. I asked about his day. I laughed at his jokes even when they weren't funny. I let him believe I was clueless. Because the more confident he felt, the sloppier he became. One Friday night, he claimed he was going on a work retreat. I knew that was a lie. He packed his best shirt, the one he wore when he wanted to impress someone. He even hummed while shaving. As soon as he left, I grabbed my keys. I had already placed a tracking app on his phone weeks earlier. And that night, it led me straight to a luxury hotel downtown. I parked across the street, my heart pounding. Through the glass doors, I watched him walk in, hand in hand with her. Lena. She was younger, blonde, dressed in a short red dress that screamed desperation. She leaned on him, giggling, kissing his cheek as though she had won some prize. For a second, my stomach twisted with pain. That was supposed to be me. His wife. His partner. The one he once called his everything. But then the pain hardened into something else. Cold. Calculated. Ruthless. I didn't confront them. Not that night. Instead, I took pictures. Dozens of them. Ryan kissing her. Ryan holding her waist. Ryan checking in at the front desk under his name. By the time I left, I had enough evidence to burn his perfect little world to the ground. The next morning, he came home around 10 a.m., pretending he had just returned from a meeting. He smelled of cheap hotel shampoo and guilt. I was waiting in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. "How was your retreat?" I asked lightly. He smiled, kissed my cheek. "Long. Boring. You know how those things are." I wanted to spit in his face. But instead, I chuckled. "Well, I missed you." He grinned, completely unaware that I had been watching him in another woman's arms just hours ago. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't just a cheater. He was a liar so good he could look me straight in the eye and convince me the sky was green. And if I didn't play my cards right, he'd crush me without a second thought. But here's the thing Ryan didn't understand. I wasn't planning on leaving quietly. No, I was going to make him pay. I was going to take back everything he thought he owned, his pride, his reputation, even his precious Lena. And when I was done, he wouldn't just lose me. He'd lose everything. Over the next few weeks, I perfected my plan. Step 1. Build his trust even deeper. I became sweeter, more caring, the perfect wife. I even suggested we plan a vacation together, and his face lit up with relief, as if he truly believed I was oblivious to everything. Step 2. Gather allies. Quietly, I reconnected with people he had wronged in the past. Former friends, ex-business partners, even an old flame who still held a grudge. Piece by piece, I built a network of people who would happily watch Ryan fall. Step 3. Wait for the right moment to strike. And that moment came faster than I expected. One evening, Ryan walked in with his arm full of roses. He handed them to me with a guilty grin. "For you, I know I've been busy, but I want you to know you're still my number one." Number one? My blood boiled. So Lena was number 2 then? I forced myself to smile and kissed him on the cheek. "They're beautiful, Ryan." "Thank you." But later that night, as I trimmed the stems and placed the roses in a vase, I whispered to myself, "Enjoy your little act, Ryan, because soon these flowers will be the last gift you ever give me." The final straw came a week later. I was folding laundry when Ryan's phone buzzed on the couch. This time, he hadn't locked it. The message glowed on the screen. "Lena, I can't wait for you to leave her. When are you going to tell Emily?" My hands clenched around the shirt I was folding. "Leave me?" So this wasn't just an affair. He was planning a future with her. A wave of anger surged through me so strong I nearly threw his phone against the wall. But instead, I slipped it back into place before he noticed. Because I knew this was it. The moment I had been waiting for. Ryan thought he was moving toward his happy ending with Lena. But he didn't realize I was already standing behind him, holding the match that would set his whole world on fire. The night I saw Lena's message about Ryan leaving me, something inside me snapped. All the nights of pretending. All the fake smiles. All the patience I'd forced myself to endure, it all boiled into one sharp thought. It's time. No more waiting. No more pretending to be the clueless, naive wife. If Ryan wanted betrayal, then betrayal he would get, served back to him tenfold. The very next morning, I started putting my plan into motion. First, I reached out to my friend Claire. She had always warned me about Ryan's too perfect charm, but I never listened. When I told her what I had discovered, she didn't say, "I told you so." She simply said, "Emily, let's make sure he regrets the day he ever thought he could play with you." Together, we mapped out every step. I shared the folder of evidence I had collected, photos of Ryan with Lena, screenshots of their texts, timestamps from his business trips. Claire's eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. "This is more than enough to destroy him," she whispered. But I shook my head. Not destroy. Not yet. First, I want him to feel safe. To believe he's winning. Because the sweetest revenge isn't sudden. It's slow. It's watching your enemy build a tower of lies and then pulling out the one brick that makes it all collapse. That weekend, Ryan came home later than usual. His shirt was half unbuttoned, his hair tousled. I knew exactly where he'd been. I decided to test him. "Ryan," I said casually as I set the table for dinner, "what would you do if I ever lied to you? If I betrayed you?" He froze for half a second before plastering on that fake smile. "You? Betray me? Never." He laughed. "You're too good for that, That's why I love you." Too good? If only he knew. A few nights later, I followed him again. I watched from the shadows as he held Lena's hand in the back of a dimly lit bar. They looked like a couple in love, laughing, whispering, stealing kisses when they thought no one was watching. The sight should have broken me. But instead, it strengthened me. Because every laugh, every kiss, every lie was just another nail in the coffin Ryan was building for himself. When I returned home, I sat at my desk, staring at the growing pile of evidence. I had enough to end our marriage instantly. Enough to ruin his reputation. Enough to ensure Lena saw the truth. But something inside me whispered, not yet. I wanted to catch him in the act. I wanted to see the look on his face when his perfect game came crashing down. And soon, I got my chance. One evening, Ryan told me he had to go on another business trip. His tone was careless now, almost arrogant, as if he didn't even need to try hard to cover his lies anymore. The moment he left, I followed. The tracker led me to the same hotel as before. I parked outside, my pulse pounding. But this time, instead of just watching, I decided to act. I walked straight into the lobby, heels clicking against the marble floor, head held high. The receptionist smiled politely. "Good evening, ma'am. Do you have a reservation?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "My husband, Ryan Miller, checked in a little while ago." "Could you tell me which room?" The receptionist hesitated, but when I flashed my wedding ring, her face softened. "Room 804, she whispered. "Perfect." I rode the elevator up, my heart hammering louder with each floor. By the time I reached his door, my hands were trembling, but not from fear. From adrenaline. I knocked twice. The door opened, and there he was. Ryan, shirt unbuttoned, hair messy. And behind him, Lena, wrapped in nothing but a robe. For a moment, silence filled the room. His eyes widened in shock, his lips parting as if to speak. "Emily, what are you?" I cut him off with a cold smile. "Hello, darling. I just wanted to see for myself what my husband looks like with another woman." Lena's face went pale. She clutched the robe tighter around herself, stammering. "Ryan, you said she wouldn't." Ryan stepped forward, his voice frantic. "Emily, it's not what it looks like." I laughed bitterly. "Not what it looks like." "Really, Ryan? Should I believe my eyes or your lies?" For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't touch me," I hissed. "I know everything." The texts. The hotels. The promises you made to her. "You thought I didn't notice, didn't you?" His face drained of color. "Emily, please, let me explain." But I wasn't there to listen. I turned to Lena, who stood frozen, guilt all over her face. "Congratulations, Lena," I said with icy calm. "You've won the grand prize." A liar. A cheater. A man who throws away his vows like garbage. "I hope you're proud." She opened her mouth to speak but quickly shut it again, her eyes darting between us. Ryan grabbed my arm, desperation in his touch. "Emily, please, let's talk about this at home." "Please, don't make a scene." I yanked my arm free. "Oh, Ryan, this isn't a scene. This is the opening act." And with that, I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of the two of them together, him half-dressed, her in a robe, both of them caught in their own guilt. the look on his face as the flash went off. That was the moment I'd been waiting for. Without another word, I turned and walked out, leaving him standing there stunned, caught between his mistress and his wife. When I reached my car, I sat behind the wheel, my hands still shaking. But for the first time in months, I felt alive. Because now it wasn't just suspicion. It wasn't just secret evidence. It was real. It was undeniable. And I held the proof in my hands. Ryan thought he had me trapped in his web of lies, but what he didn't realize was that I had just lit the fire that would burn his entire world down. The night I caught Ryan in that hotel room should have been the end. Most women would have packed their bags, filed for divorce, and never looked back. But not me. Walking away would have been too easy for him. I didn't just want to leave Ryan. I wanted him to feel everything I had felt, every ounce of betrayal, every stab of humiliation, every moment of helplessness. And I knew exactly how to make that happen. The morning after the hotel confrontation, Ryan acted as if nothing had happened. He came into the kitchen with a cheerful, almost desperate tone. "Morning, I thought maybe we could go out for brunch today. Just the two of us." He set down a bouquet of tulips, my favorite, or at least what used to be. I stared at him, and forced a soft smile. "Sure, Ryan. That sounds nice." Inside, though, I was screaming. How dare he? How dare he act like a few flowers could erase the image of him with her? But I stayed calm, because calm meant control, and control meant victory. That afternoon, I met Claire at a quiet cafe. I slid my phone across the table, showing her the photo of Ryan and Lena caught red-handed. She nearly spit out her coffee. "Oh my God, Emily. This is perfect." I leaned in, lowering my voice. "We're not just going to expose him. We're going to dismantle everything he thinks he has." And so the plan sharpened. Step 1. Make him think I had forgiven him. Step 2. Gain access to his finances, his business, every vulnerable corner of his life. Step 3. Strike when he least expected it. Over the next few weeks, I played my role flawlessly. I laughed at his jokes. I made him dinners. I even surprised him at his office with lunch, acting like the perfect, doting wife. At first, he was suspicious, his eyes would narrow, his voice careful. But slowly, he started to believe me. One night, over dinner, he even said, "I don't know what I did to deserve you, I'm lucky you're so forgiving." Forgiving. If only he knew. Behind the scenes, I was working relentlessly. I went through his emails while he slept. I copied documents, account numbers, client lists. Ryan had always been careless with passwords, using my birthday of all things. Irony at its finest. I discovered things even I wasn't prepared for, loans he hadn't told me about, shady business deals, promises to investors he couldn't possibly keep. Ryan wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a sinking ship, and I was about to make sure he drowned. But fate decided to give me an unexpected gift. One night, Ryan stumbled into the house drunk, muttering about Lena under his breath. I helped him onto the couch, and as he passed out, his phone slipped from his hand. The screen was still unlocked. Curiosity got the better of me, and what I found nearly made me laugh out loud. Messages between him and Lena, fighting, arguing. She was furious that he hadn't left me yet. She called him a coward, a liar. She even threatened to tell me everything herself. Ryan was begging her to be patient. "I promise, baby. Just a little longer. Emily's fragile. I don't want to hurt her." Fragile. That word lit a fire in me. Because if there was one thing I wasn't, it was fragile. The next morning, I decided to push him further. "Ryan," I said sweetly over breakfast, "you've been working so hard. Why don't we plan a little getaway? Just us. Somewhere private." His eyes lit up with relief. He thought it was proof I was still loyal, still blind. "That's a great idea," he said quickly. "How about next weekend? perfect. Because next weekend was when everything would change. While he thought I was planning a romantic escape, I was orchestrating his downfall. I had already spoken to a lawyer. With the evidence I had, photos, texts, financial records, I could not only secure a divorce but take half of everything he owned. But I wanted more. I wanted him to lose Lena too. So I devised a little surprise. The weekend arrived. Ryan drove us to a secluded cabin by the lake, smiling like the devoted husband he pretended to be. The first night, he poured us wine, lit a fire, even played our favorite songs on his phone. See, he said softly, reaching for my hand. This is what matters. Just us. I don't want anyone else. I bit back a laugh. He had no idea what was coming. Because while we sat there, sipping wine, I had already sent a message from his phone to Lena. A simple invitation. Come to the cabin. I have something to tell you. And she replied within minutes. Finally. The next day, as Ryan chopped wood outside, I heard the sound of tires crunching on gravel. I stepped onto the porch just as Lena climbed out of her car, wearing a tight dress and a triumphant smile. Ryan turned, his face draining of color when he saw her. Lena? What are you? I folded my arms, smiling coldly. Oh, don't be shy, Ryan. I thought it was time we all had a little family meeting. Lena's eyes darted between us, confusion giving way to anger. You told me you were leaving her, she snapped. You said it was over, Ryan stammered. I was going to, I stepped closer, cutting him off. No, Lena. He wasn't going to. He never was. He was playing both of us. And now? Now you both get to see the truth. Ryan stood frozen, his perfect little house of lies crumbling as Lena's eyes filled with betrayal and mine with cold satisfaction. And for the first time, I saw it, the panic of a man realizing he was finally trapped. Ryan stood in the middle of the porch, frozen, while Lena and I stared him down from opposite sides. For once, he wasn't in control. For once, he couldn't charm his way out. The silence was heavy until Lena broke it. Ryan, you told me you loved me. You said you were leaving her for me. Her voice shook with rage and heartbreak. She turned toward me, eyes glistening. He told me you were a bitter, needy wife, that you didn't care about him anymore. My jaw tightened, but I kept my composure. Of course he did, I said coldly. That's what liars do. They rewrite stories to make themselves look like the hero. Ryan's face turned pale. He reached toward Lena, desperate. Baby, listen to me. But she slapped his hand away. Don't you dare. I pulled my phone from my pocket, scrolling through the evidence I'd collected. You want to know the truth, Lena? I asked. Here. Take a look. I shoved the phone into her hands. Messages, pictures, hotel records, it was all there. She scrolled through them, her face twisting with disgust. When she looked back at Ryan, her voice dripped with venom. You used me. Ryan's mask finally cracked. He looked between us, sweat forming on his forehead, words tumbling out in a frantic mess. No, I love you both. I didn't mean. I laughed. A sharp, bitter laugh. Love? You don't even know what that word means, Ryan. Lena dropped the phone onto the porch railing and turned to leave. We're done. Don't call me again. Ryan lunged toward her, panicked. Lena, please, wait. But I stepped in front of him, blocking his path. Let her go, I said firmly. This is between you and me now. For the first time, Ryan's eyes filled with real fear. We went back inside the cabin. He paced the room like a caged animal, muttering to himself. Finally, he turned to me. Emily, please. We can fix this. I made mistakes, but I love you. I don't want to lose you. I leaned against the table, arms crossed. Lose me? Ryan, you lost me the moment you touched her. The only difference is you didn't realize it until now. His voice broke. Don't say that. Please. I'll end it with her. I'll change. I shook my head slowly. No, Ryan. You won't. Because men like you don't change. You lie. You cheat. You take. And when you're caught, you beg. But this time, begging won't save you. He dropped to his knees in front of me, tears streaming down his face. Emily, please. Don't leave me. Don't ruin me. And that was it. The moment I'd been waiting for. The man who once thought he was untouchable, the man who played with my heart, was now crumbling at my feet. But I wasn't done yet. I pulled a thick envelope from my bag and tossed it onto the floor in front of him. Divorce papers, I said coldly. Already signed on my side. All I need is yours. His hands shook as he opened it, his eyes scanning the pages. You're taking everything, he whispered, horrified. I smiled. Half, legally. But with the evidence I have, I could take it all. And don't think I won't if you try to fight me. He shook his head violently. No, please. You can't. I'll have nothing. I leaned down, meeting his desperate eyes. Exactly. For a long moment, he just sat there, broken, staring at the papers. Finally, with trembling hands, he signed. I slipped them back into my bag, my victory sealed. But before I left, I gave him one last truth. Ryan, do you know why I stayed so long? Why I didn't confront you right away? He looked up, confused, silent. Because I wanted you to believe you were winning. I wanted you to feel safe, to think I was blind. I wanted you to underestimate me. And you did. That was your biggest mistake. His lips parted, but no words came out. I turned and walked toward the door, my heels clicking against the floor like a final drumbeat. At the doorway, I stopped, looking back one last time. He was still on his knees, broken, whispering the same words over and over again. Please, Emily, please, have mercy. But I didn't. Not then. Not ever. The divorce moved quickly after that. Ryan tried to fight me at first, but the evidence I had was overwhelming. His lawyer advised him to settle quietly before it ruined him completely. I walked away with the house, a significant portion of his business shares, and my dignity intact. As for Ryan, his business collapsed under the weight of his reckless deals. Lena disappeared from his life the moment she realized he had nothing left to offer. Last I heard, he was living in a small rented apartment, struggling to make ends meet. And me? I rebuilt my life. Stronger. Smarter. Free. Sometimes people ask if I regret it. If I regret the cold way I handled it all. The truth? No, because Ryan taught me the most important lesson of all. Love can be a blessing. But betrayal? Betrayal can make you sharper than any weapon. And when someone plays with your heart, you don't have to break. You can rise. You can take back your power. And you can make sure they never forget the day they lost you. So when Ryan fell to his knees, begging for mercy, he thought he was facing just a betrayed wife. But what he was really facing was the woman he created when he decided to play with my heart.